Hi there. Thanks for joining me. I'm Randi Roberts. I am an executive and career life coach, and I absolutely love working with clients to help if that feeling that what used to excite you is exhausting you. Something's changed about your career and you or the fit and you want to explore that. I love it. If you've just taken on a new big level of responsibility, I'm all about that. It's a great time to have some support. So, really happy to talk to you if now is a time for you to get a little bit more support. Just reach out to me. But today we are going to focus on how to make the most of a summer slowdown. And for some of you who are joining today or watching this later, like the title may have gotten you, dealing with relaxation induced anxiety for type A executives. If you can relate to that, I'm really, really glad that you're here because we're going to talk more about it, but it really speaks to me in terms of when there's not enough pressure, when I'm not busier to do than I know what to do about. um it creates anxiety for me, and I've really spent years kind of trying to detox from that and learn from it. So if that's true for you, I think today may be really helpful. So, in general, I mean, if you've spent the last couple of weeks feeling vaguely guilty for that situation that I just described, for not being busy enough because the pressure lets up a little bit in the summer, congratulations, you're a high performer, you're wired for this, and your nervous system just hasn't gotten the message that it's okay to downshift right now. So, today we're going to talk about why that discomfort isn't a flaw to fix. It's just data for you to use and for you to act on. And hopefully, by the end of the next roughly 15 minutes, you're going to walk away with a couple of ideas and one specific thing you can do differently this week. Like, not someday, but this week, that can make a difference in a way that's helpful for you. You get to choose it. So the whole point is for this to be easy. I'm talking about making it easier and taking advantage of it when it is easy and not making it harder because that's what feels right to us. So if you came here seeking some really complex multi-phase process that involves a team of people and highly technical systems, you're excused. That's not what's going to happen here. This is going to be easy. So one big thought here is, do you define yourself as someone who works well under pressure? I do. I always have. If you are someone who defines yourself as working well under pressure, this does not mean you have to have pressure to work well under. And that little reframe sometimes can get you to the right place to even hear this conversation. If you work well under pressure, you don't have to have pressure to work well. Okay, so what do I mean about relaxation-induced anxiety? You may or may not be aware of it, but productivity reduces by about 20% across industries in general every summer. But for type A leaders, for you and me, that dip in productivity isn't the problem. It's the feelings that brings up. It's the guilt about the dip that actually is what can drain us and distract us and reduce our own productivity. We do this to ourselves. And the good news is, if we're doing this to ourselves, we could choose not to do it to ourselves. So we have to reframe it. This anxiety isn't a personal glitch, it's a wiring feature. It's how we are wired. If your calendar has white space and your brain treats it like it's a fire alarm, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So let's just take a moment to imagine a world where a bit of space and a lack of that fierce pressure is actually a good thing. And right there, that might be a shift for you. Space and time to think is actually a good thing. It is not a gap to be filled. It might be something that you can really use. And I'll tell you, my own reinvention in my career has really proven this to me. I mean, I went from that corporate pressure that many of you feel to running my own business. The pressure is still there and it's real, but it's very different. to some extent self-imposed or self-managed. And so it is a little bit easier, and I've learned to play with it and to control it. And I got to tell you, I wish I knew that when I was still in the corporate world. I think things would have felt a lot different. So, how do you intentionally create that space without losing your edge? That may be one of your fears. If I don't have my foot down on the gas all the time, I'm not going to be me. But you can be. You just have to give yourself permission to be. This is the plan. You don't have to feel guilty for varying from the plan if the plan is to slow down just a little bit. So, oftentimes, a good way to think about this is you're not slowing down so much, purpose. Let me say that differently. You're slowing down purposefully, which is very different than turning it off. And you can turn it back on anytime you want to. Remember, that's what you're wired to do. So don't let this scare you. But think about what could be possible. Like that specific moment where you choose to pause instead of filling the space. Who knows what you could see as a result of that you can't see when you're that crazy busy. I have a lot of clients I've had this conversation with, but one just the other day where she was experiencing this and recognized that she needed a bit of a break. She recognized that she was burning out and she needed to take some space, and she needed to show her team how to do it. But she wasn't giving herself permission to do it. So what we had to do, this may sound like she was playing a game with herself, and maybe she was, but it worked. She had to put into her plan that she needed a break. So for her, this was, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or whatever. For her, she dropped in her calendar on August 1st, start thinking about this thing. And then she knew she wasn't going to forget. It was going to be there when she got to August 1st, but she could take the pressure off in that regard during the month of July. And when she started to feel guilty about that lack of pressure, she could, nope, the plan is it's coming back August 1st. If I'm feeling space, it means I'm working my plan. And just knowing she had chosen that and she was working her plan enabled her to actually do it. I mean, we're only, almost 2 weeks in, but so far it's working. So I would encourage you, if that is helpful for you, to actually put that in the plan, do it. And let's talk for a minute about why this matters for you and for your team. If you can reframe from the cost of slowing down, that may be what feels risky. What am I going to lose? What is going to be the cost of slowing down? But if you can shift from thinking about that to thinking about what is the cost if I don't, what's the cost of never stopping? You really will give yourself that permission. And, think about it. If you are pushing so hard, it can create some blind spots. You don't have time and space to think about them. You may not have the capacity to let one more thing in, but those blind spots compound. If you're missing one, there often is another one. So take the break. Sometimes we make decisions based on reflex instead of judgment if we're that pressured. You won't give yourself time to consider another way. Make sure that you're pressure testing that idea. You might just be in go, go, go mode. So there really is a benefit to it. And don't forget that teams may mirror the leader's behavior. If the leader, you, is unable to exhale, to take a break, to step back, to delegate so that you can really take that break, they may think that they can't possibly do it. I mean, when I was in the corporate world, I used to, it wasn't easy, but I used to take vacation. I would delegate the things that were really big and make sure, if you're delegating, you got to empower, you got to step away from it and trust them. So that was a really important piece of it. I arranged with my team. They knew that I was going to be checking out, that I wasn't checking email every day. They also knew that if there was a true, something caught fire, it was a true 911, they could call me and I would answer. but they knew it had to be a 911. Like this was an agreement that we made ahead. And then I gave myself permission to do it. Now, for me, I also learned that I had to take 2 weeks off, which may sound crazy to you, but the reason is if I only took 1 day off, I spent 2 days trying to decompress. Then at the end, I spent 2 days getting rewired what was waiting for me when I came back, and I had very little time to actually relax. So if I took 2 weeks, I actually did get a real break. So know what it is that's working for you. But think about those dynamics that we talked about. Think about what the payoff could be and what will quietly accumulate if this doesn't change. It's worth changing one thing. You and your team need a break. Some space is actually a good thing. But what's important about that is to embrace the discomfort, which may sound funny, but discomfort in purposefully trying something new and trying to do things a different way is actually really, really healthy because it's a sign of growth. And the more you can take it on as an opportunity to practice this new thing, the less resistance you will put in front of yourself to actually do the thing. So, honestly, this is funny because I will just sort of say to myself, this thing scares me. Thank you, universe, for giving me a chance to practice this new skill. And, let's dive into it. And I've done it long enough to know that if something doesn't go right, I can fix it, but at least I'm in motion. Okay, so let's get practical here. Pick one thing in your business. Think about the dynamics of your business this year. What's one area that could use a little bit of focus if you had some time to consider it, to play with it a little bit? It might be the actual business, delivery of the business. It might be a leadership challenge. It could be your own health. You could be resilience, some skill that you want to build. You get to pick it. But the key is to pick one thing that would make the biggest difference this year if you made a minor shift. And don't pick them all. Really, just pick one, because if you try and do too much, you may not be setting yourself up for success. Whereas if you pick one thing, you are focused, you're setting yourself up for success, and you're making it easy, which is what I promised you. So hold me to that. Think about, again, what is the thing that would matter the most by the year end? I'm about to sneeze. Now that I've said that, I won't. Wait. Excuse me. So think about the one thing that if you made a little bit of a shift, it could make the biggest difference. Now, that difference might be business impact. That difference just might be a little pressure off you that will sort of be the gift that keeps on giving. That's okay. It could be for your own benefit, but just pick the one thing. Just take a moment to think about it. Okay. So now envision with that one thing, if you made a little bit of a difference, what could be different at the end of the year? If you approached it differently, if you brought people in to help solve the problem, if you stopped doing one other thing to give more attention to that thing. We're not talking about it in a pressure way. We're talking about a what could be way. What would success look like in that one thing? And the more clear you can get on that, the better, the more motivated you'll be, the more inspired you'll be, because this is really what the payoff is. So it's worth thinking about that and getting clear. Once you've identified what that is, what's that area that you want to focus? What's that little shift that you want to make? It's really helpful to build in some accountability. And this can look a lot of different ways. For you, that could be putting things in your calendar, like I mentioned that my client does. It could be journaling on it. It could be a note in your phone. Like, think about what's super easy for you to note, keep track of, keep present for yourself in a way that doesn't create another task. That's why for me, a note in my phone works, because I always have my phone on me. So pick the thing that's easy for you to track it, to make it easy to hold yourself accountable, and then just commit to it. Again, we're talking about easy. Here are the things you're talking about noting. Getting clear on and tracking. the what. Like, what's your intention for the one thing you want to do differently in the area that you've chosen? And it may be helpful to note also what is the difference that that can make, because again, that'll be the thing that's pulling you, the thing that's inspiring you. So, what's the area that you want to focus on? What's the one shift you want to make, and what difference can that make? Just go ahead and make your notes. It is also important to note when you're going to do that. And what we're really targeting is do something in the next week, because you want to have this reinforce itself fast. And right now we're already into July. You want to be able to take advantage of the next couple months of summer, assuming you're watching this live time or close to it. So there's no time like the present. You want to get on it fairly quickly. So what is you've got your what, when do you want to do this? And it's also helpful to think about what are your watch outs or what might get in your way. If you're working with a coach, you probably get that question a lot. I know I have that conversation with my clients, because if you're planning for the thing that might get in your way, like when it happens, yep, thought this might happen, here's how I'm going to get around it, rather than letting it stop you. So good to think about that a little bit. Another thing that I love to think about is, how are you going to celebrate the win? So you've done the thing, it's made the difference. How are you going to celebrate the win? And it could be something as simple as, I'm going to go meet a friend for coffee, or I'm going to take an afternoon to go golf, or whatever does it for you. But planning out something to celebrate is pretty cool, because it really reinforces the habit. Then before you're done, what I would say is think about what's the next small step. I am not suggesting you do it. In fact, I'm suggesting you not do it, because you just want to be doing one small thing at a time. But if you think about what the next thing is that you're going to take up, you're already in the mode of thinking about this and planning it. You're thinking about it logically. It'll be easy for you to come up with the next small step. And then when you come back to it and you're ready to implement, it's easy to pick it back up and go. You've already done that thinking. You're not having to get back into the mindset of, wait a minute, where was I going to go next? What does this look like? You've already got the action plan. If you get to it next week, you're ready to pick it back up and it's not the right one, so what? But this has a good chance of making it easier for you to gain some momentum. So make your commitment concrete. Make it small, just one little action. We're talking baby steps here, and do it right away. We're not talking about a summer-long overhaul or something by the year end. Right now, you're focused on one step this week. I mean, something to keep in mind here is I'm encouraging you to change your behavior. But, you didn't build your career and you aren't this successful by doing less. So this may feel really uncomfortable. I'm not asking you to do less. What I'm asking you to do is to think smaller right now, to take advantage of that space. And sometimes that can feel really hard because you are wired to take on big things. But again, pick that one thing that will make the biggest difference. Move the needle and get going. You will see a difference by Labor Day. So let's see what kind of a difference it can make. I would love to hear from you on not just what is the thing you picked and what the plan is, but what difference are you seeing it make? And of course, if I can do anything to help you, I want to hear from you on that too. Okay, so I have a couple of questions. Let me touch on those very quickly. Oh, this is interesting. How do I create space without my team thinking that I've checked out or that things are less urgent? That makes sense to me, actually, because type A leaders can really worry that a visible slowdown can read as disengagement to the people that are watching you. But, space and absence of focus are not the same thing. Absence of importance. Giving it space does not mean it's important. What I would say is tell your team what you're purposefully doing and why. This is great leadership by example. Then they're not having to read between the lines, and you're showing them that you're trying something new, that you think that there's going to be a payoff there. They may see it. They may want to be a part of it. They may do it themselves. So, I mean, that could look as simple as, I'm blocking out Thursday afternoons to think. I'm not going to schedule any meetings. I'm not going to disappear if there's emergencies, but I want to take some time to think. Silence can seem like checked out, but if you're sharing with them intentionally what you're doing, that's leadership. Okay, one more question. Isn't this just permission to procrastinate on real problems? That question makes so much sense to me because this feels uncomfortable, right? No, it's not permission to procrastinate on real problems. I mean, procrastination avoids the thing that's important, where this points straight at it. It's just giving you a framework for focusing on the right thing. I mean, if you think about it, strategy is about making choices. If you have a little bit of space, you're making the choice, you're thinking strategically about where you want to apply that space. So, and remember that if your one thing doesn't scare you a little bit, it might not be the right one. You're trying to build a new skill. It should feel uncomfortable in a healthy way. So hopefully you can take that to heart and even embrace the challenge in it. And just remember, make this easy. We're not trying to add to the load. We're trying to reframe things and give you an opportunity to become even more productive for slowing down a little bit. So hopefully that's helpful. Thank you so much for listening in. Those of you that stuck around to the end, I really appreciate it. And I'll look forward to seeing you again.